Good afternoon, guys and girls. Have you ever had one of those days when you thought you were going to do one thing and end up doing another? So I thought I was going to show you how to do this, but then I made a right mess of it, and I was actually avoiding doing this, which is what God put on my heart originally to do. So we're in Proverbs 16 at verse 9, and it's all about work. I'm doing a lot about work recently. There's things up in the air at work, different changes, and kind of keep asking God, what is your plan? And I've been listening to a series from Bridgetown Church in Portland, Oregon, and I'll link it below. So you can have a look at the work series, but their teaching is brilliant. The main pastor is a guy called John Mark Homer, who was the main speaker week 2 at New Wine last year. And in the Amplified version, this 16:9 says, "A man's mind plans his way, as he journeys through life, but the Lord directs his steps and establishes them." And in the Good News it says, you make plans, but God directs your actions. And in the NIV, in the hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Now that doesn't mean that if we plan it's futile. What it's saying is actually we need to plan something and get moving, and then God will direct us from there. So it's a bit like trying to drive a car and not actually starting it if you don't make plans. So I kind of had this idea in my head that we were going to do something like that. So a signpost and a stick man or some kind, and 3 directions. So here goes. So the Bible I'm using is the Hannah Done It Bible. Quite like this one because it's got slightly wider margins. I have got numerous, anybody that knows me knows I've got numerous journaling Bibles. Now all I'm doing is a post in 3D. Now if you can't draw 3D, that's absolutely fine, just do it flat on. And actually I think I need that one to go that way, so I'm just going to rub that one out. You can probably buy a stamp as well that will do this for you. Don't know. And I'm going to do one that way. Now I'm really excited because I'm off to New Wine tomorrow. New Wine Week B 2018, just in case you're watching this further down the line. Yeah, so it's the first year in quite a few years that I'm actually not serving on team. So there's just me. No daughter, no husband, so it's quite exciting being able to just go as me, and I'm looking forward to spending some real quality time with friends and obviously with the Lord. So I've decided to go with that stick man. I didn't want to draw anything fancy, and we're going to have beach this way, we're going to have I'll put forest, I'm going to put woods, and we've got town this way. So to represent those things, we're going to put some waves there and some leaves there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a micron pen because they're waterproof, and I'm going to go around everything that I've just drawn. Now remember, it's not about work of art, it's about concentrating on the Lord's word. So what is the Lord saying to you about work? In the talk I've been listening to from Bridgetown Church, it talks about the fact that even if you're not in paid ministry, working directly for a church like a pastor or a youth worker, or a pastoral assistant or whatever, you are still in ministry, because in your everyday life, in your jobs, in your parenting, everything, you are representing the Lord. Which kind of I knew, but sometimes you need to just hear it again, don't you? A very simple stick man. If you can't draw a stick man, look it up on the internet. So we've got the signpost in, we've got the stick man in, and I'm going to put a big question mark there. So he's thinking, which way should I go? Now I could have drawn it a girl, I could have put clothes on it, I could have put hair on it, but I've chose just to kind of make it well, it's a non-gender really. So just having a drink of my Irish squash. If you can't draw signposts, find something on the internet, and then these pages are thin enough for you to trace through. So I've left it a couple of minutes, hopefully it won't start to smudge now. I'm going to just blast it with my heat tool just to make sure, just to set it. I'm going to make it a bit stylised because I didn't want to draw a bead, so I'm going to use stencils. So I'm going to use this wave stencil, which is one of my wave stencils, called Waves One. I'll put a link below to it, and I'm going to use these new Bible margin stencils, which are designed just to fit in these, but if you've got a smaller margin you can do one and then do the other. And I'm going to do a load of leaves there. I'm going to use Inktense pencils, and all I'm going to do is, just to represent the beach, I'm going to do some waves with the pencils this way, because they're not necessarily, pencils aren't very sharp, and the some of these holes are big, it won't necessarily colour all of it in, but we can add different bits of different colours to it. Little bits of green, I think, because it is the sea. And I'm going to move my stencil a little bit now. I forgot to say I've got a piece of plastic underneath. I'm going to overlap some of these stencils, some of these shapes as well. So it looks like there's lots of waves one on top of each other. Do this in a different colour. I'm going to activate these in a minute, so I'm not worried necessarily about how really neat they are. Just giving us a suggestion of waves. Working on the two colours. So put another wave there. Now I haven't treated my page at all, so this will be as it goes. I'm going to grab a water brush. I think that's the one I want. No, it's not, it's too big. You watch, there's 3 water brushes in this pack. I'll pick the wrong one, that's a little one. That's okay for detail. So it must be this one. Right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to go around where I've drawn on the stencil and just activate the waves such. And you can draw these freehand, you don't have to have a stencil. But if you're a bit, I don't like drawing kind of person, get some kind of stencil, and say links below. What I'm trying to do is just activate it enough to make it suggest that it's the sea. I don't mind if we get a little bit of colour in between. I'm going to go in a minute or two and put some more detail in. Kind of the waves I'm representing. I don't want to get it too wet. Representing the sea. That's that one. Blast it with my heat tool just to dry it off so I don't smudge it. Hasn't gone through. That's dry. And then I'm going to use the smaller, there is a bigger leaf stencil, which says rummaging, which I can't lay my hands on at the minute. No, can't find it. that's got 3 or 4 leaves on, but this one is the right size to fit on here. And I'm going to grab some greens. Now leaves are pretty easy to draw anyway, but I'm going to suggest that with my lines, I'm suggesting that there's some veins in it. See? Again, we're going to activate these in a minute. Now you could keep the stencil in place while you're activated if you wanted. But I'm going to take the stencil out and I'm going to activate. I'm going to go from this side towards me because I'm right-handed, so I don't actually end up putting my hand on my wet work. Now because town is towards us, I'm not going to draw any houses. So you've got a very, very simple leaf shape going off there. And I'm going to blast that with my heat tool again. Okay, not gone through. Going to let that dry a little bit more. So while waiting, I'm going to do the pole. So I'm doing one coat on everything, and then to give it the idea that it's 3-dimensional, I'm going to colour over another one. So that is like 3 layers, and this top one, I've gone really hard on it. And I'm just going to activate it, and what it should do is make it look 3D. So I've got a couple of micron pens, 3 micron pens. I've got a black, I've got a blue, and I've got a green out here. I don't know if you can see that, there we are. I also think we need to have some kind of colour on the back of the sign. So I'm going to go for a light colour, I'm going to go for a yellow. Like so. Just to activate that, I just need to make sure it's not got any other colour on it. Just to give it a bit more 3D, make it look solid. So what I'm going to do with the micron pens is put in some detail. So I'm just putting in some scribbly lines to go over there. With the black, I'm going to go like that, and like that. And I'm going to join those up. Grab the brown. Remember, journaling isn't about the art, it's about you connecting. What way, what plan, what does God want you to do next? Just going to activate that a bit more because it feels that there is a bit more in there. What has he got? Remember, God can't move you. God can't direct you if you're not moving in a direction to start with. So is it the forest? Is it the beach? Or are you heading towards the town? That's what I'd ask you to think about. So on top of my waves, I'm just putting a little bit of blue. And then these are Jane Davenport paint over pens. So it could be that you use use whatever you have. These will put white on. They're quite opaque when they first go on. You could use, you might end up with you might have a gel pen that you like using. You might have this one's a Stabilo all in white. But the more you build up the layers, once it's dry, the whiter it will become. Just have to make sure you keep scribbling it off so it doesn't end up. I've also got one in blue as well, just to give it a bit more oomph. And I've also got a paint over pen in green, so I'm just going to give, these don't go through your page by the way, give it a bit of a lift with this green. As you can see, as you can hear, my phone's just going, but do you know what, most of the time it's just junk callers, so I'm going to ignore it. So we've got as far as this. What I am going to do is I need something to ground him on, so I need to use, because at the minute he's flying in midair. So I've kind of done that, and I think you just need a little bit of pink. I want a very pale pink, beach, that one's coral, let's go for this one. So I've changed mine into a Caucasian person because he's got a light skin colour. Just need that to dry. I'm going to put his features back in. I still think that this isn't quite enough. Bottom. And then I'm just going to draw in features with the black again. The great thing about paint over pens is you can actually write over them without a problem. Back round this side. So just to recap the verse then, I'll write the verse in. So it's Proverbs, write it down here, Proverbs, and it's 16 verse 9. 16 verse 9. And I'm going to turn around here. I'm going to get my paint over pen and highlight the verse there. So the verse in this version says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." So in their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes some steps. So to summarise, you need to get moving before God can steer you. Happy thoughts.